Welcome to Yeah, but Are You Happy? It's a podcast about the intersection of creativity and mental health. Usually, I'm Katie Stone. I'm a comedian and copywriter and a crazy person living in Los Angeles, California. And usually, I co host this show with my friend and therapist, Lane Ingram, but he is out this week. So we have a guest who I will be interviewing one on one. We'll see how the fuck this goes. He is the owner of a comedy theater in Austin. Not the owner, an owner. I'm sorry, I don't want to disenfranchise others, but of a beautiful comedy theater in Austin, Texas. Go check it out. Very funny comedian, wonderful person. Also, I said he, and I was planning to use they them pronouns the whole time, and I really apologize for that. Please welcome Virgil Shelby.
Thank you for having me, Katie. And wonderful catch, beautifully done. Mwah. I was just
I
like, I was about to hit end call right now. I was hovering over the button.
imagine a bigger dick in this fucking world. But your pronouns are he, they, he.
They he, yeah. I
Yeah,
go by he out of laziness. I mean,
yeah,
everybody's got a
exactly.
different relationship to their pronouns, and for me, I'm like, what else?
I just remember. Sorry, we're talking immediately. I remember there was a post that you and Dylan both shared on Facebook that was like, I say he they because I don't want people to like feel like shit when they use he, but like it would be really nice if you used they. And I've really tried to internalize that. Anyway, I'm making it about me.
No,
How are
you're
you
doing a
doing?
great job. You're doing a great job. Yeah, I do remember that post. I think since then I've leaned more I guess more like expecting, or like, I hate the word preferring. Preferred
Yeah,
pronouns, blah. Ugh.
yeah.
So 2016. Uh, my pronouns are they, them, and he, him is kind of like I personally
Hmm.
am not like affronted by it,
Yeah.
because it's just a lot of work, and some people don't got the spoons for that, you know. And again, everybody's journey is different, and if
Yeah.
you're adamant about those pronouns, yeah, honey.
Absolutely. No, and I don't know it. We don't. We got to do a health check-in for consistency's sake. But I guess this is part of the intro. Is just we're because today we're gonna touch on body. We've been doing this series on body image. We're just gonna interview every time we have a guest on. I mean, our guests. Let's be honest, very famous in our community, but not famous people at all. Most of our listeners, we get 200 listeners a week, baby. Can you believe that
Ooh,
shit? Most of
wow.
them have no idea who you are, and so we're just gonna ask vulnerable questions. You could always say "fuck off, Katie." And I guess we started right here. Oh yeah, yeah. But we're gonna be talking about body image and body image, especially like from a non-binary perspective. What's it like not to necessarily identify with the sex assigned to you at birth, or gender assigned at birth? I said this
Yeah.
about to Shale last week. I'm like, I really want to learn and I want to get everything right, and I apologize in advance for anything I get wrong because this is all. I mean, it isn't. It we should know. I should know. But it is all like in the past 10 years, this has become part of our day-to-day discourse, and I fuck up all the time, and I really want to get it right, so I apologize.
Yeah, totally.
Um,
Apology accepted way in advance.
oh boy. Okay. Wait, what? Oh, okay. Every week we do our mental health check-ins. If it if it makes you more comfortable for me to go first so we can do a template.
Yeah, template.
This
Template,
can,
please.
but it's really just barfing. This is weird because I usually host with Lane. And everybody's adjusting. If you're at home, I'm not the therapist. I don't ask people questions for a living.
Mhm.
Here, this is how I feel. I'm so sorry. I got the COVID vaccine yesterday. I'm a little loopy. Um, Today I'm doing okay. I feel a little under the weather. I did have some side effects. You should still get vaccinated. Um, and I was just telling Virgil, I've had a very productive week. I did a lot of stuff. Because I I well, I got my car fixed after it wasn't working for 4 months. I got the vaccine. I renewed my passport. I filed my taxes. I got my license. I got my driver's license. I'm a successful person. But today, can you hear me okay? There's like a microphone thing flicking on the screen.
Uh, I think you were out for a couple of seconds, and now you're back.
Um, but I decided I'm going to see my friend for her 30th birthday. And we're gonna do beach stuff. And so I was buying a new swimsuit, and I feel like I've been primarily like the interviewer on this show. Like while we've been talking about body image, I've been relatively lucky. And then when I was shopping for swimsuits, I was like, oh, this is my downfall. I hate every swimsuit I ever wear. Period. I have like big boobies and a little bit of a tummy, and then I used to have no ass. Now I have an okay ass, but it's just like no swimsuit is. And then I have like a thin waist, so it's not. I'm not perfect, but like but it's like nobody makes swimsuits for just like. I feel like I'm like squishy. I'm definitely squishy, but in like I'm a squishy. What's the word? I'm a squishy hourglass. I'm not saying I'm a perfect hourglass. It's like if you squeezed pudding into one. And so I'm always looking for a tube for my pudding. And my friend who's going to the beach with us was like sending me pictures of what she got, and it was like this hot sexy thong in this like tiny little top, and I was like, I would be so porn. I would look so pornographic in that because you'd be able to see all my pudding. Um Anyway. So today was a little bit of a like I wish I had like a dressable body. Even like I don't know. But that's where I'm at. I'm both successful and like I today I was like, should I lose weight? Should I go on some sort of fucking keto crash diet for a month? I don't think I'm going to, but
Ooh, big
I'm
steps.
yeah, exactly. It's trying not to. That's where I'm at. Virgil, I'm being told to turn my mic up just a little. Um, how are you doing? What's going on with you?
Wow. Hell of an act to follow. uh, but yeah, swimsuits, that's a no-go for me. Um, I hate all of them. Hate every single one of them. I think what my ideal swimsuit is like a full snorkeling like wetsuit. I'd be good with that. Nothing else.
Hell yeah. I agree.
But to
Especially if it was like Spanksy, so that like nobody knew what my it doesn't matter what shape it's in. I just don't want you to know what my actual body shape is. I want to be
mm,
something else.
yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
I want to be the idea of a body. A whisper of one. um yeah, let's see. Mental health check-in. Ooh. Turning on the vulnerable switch. uh
And
it's been a pretty rough day, if I'm honest. I was telling Katie before the show, I've been having a bit of a vet crisis with my cat, Xiao Hei. Um, and he uh, had to have an endoscopy today, where they stick a little camera in you and they snip little bits of your tummy. And it is very likely that my cat has lymphoma. And I'm still kind of like processing all of that because it's strange,
yeah,
like dealing with a death that you know is coming within like a reasonable timeline. This is
yeah.
kind of new territory for me. So
What can I ask what the prognosis is on something like that?
they say typically, if they respond well to chemo,
Hmm.
maybe 9 months to a year, up
Hmm.
or down, and so it's a tough thing to grasp. And so mental health wise, I'm in a, like, internally I think very raw, but like externally kind of placid place
Hmm.
right now. Because life is otherwise very normal. I had a semi-normal work day.
Yeah.
I have normal conversations with people, and I just have this uh this date
Yeah.
has now been put on my calendar, you know.
Yeah.
um, so it's a little tough. But uh, in my advancing years, the listeners at home, I'm 43. um, I've experienced a lot of death in my life, and this one is sort of softer than others, I think, which could be a sign of wisdom gained, or perhaps uh, a rock weathered by many storms. Uh, but yeah, neither here nor there on that. Just it's just kind of where I'm at. Um,
I'm
yeah.
so sorry. Well, and I imagine, especially like over the past year, you must have gotten closer with any pet.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
yeah.
I like, everybody's kind of like, retreated into their homes, work from home situations. So, if you're fortunate, or I mean, I'll even use the word privileged, like, uh, but I had the privilege of working from home far before COVID even
Yeah.
started. And yeah, probably 2+ years by now. And yeah, you do grow very, very, very close to a pet that you're like literally with nearly all hours of the day.
Yeah.
um and like, from where I'm sitting, he would sit right there by like a little window. It's like, I'm talking about him like he's already dead, but he's like, he's like scurrying around behind me on the floor. It's a
Yeah.
strange situation. um but yeah, definitely grow very, very close. Closer than I think than I have to like any other pet. So it's like a very morose place to be in.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing. I think it's I'm sorry. It's like, do you have sorry. Are you still living with a roommate? You lived with
Yeah.
Catherine for a while, right? Is she
Mhm.
still with you?
Yep.
Fellow comedian.
Yep.
Uh
Fellow comedian Catherine,
well,
Austin favorite.
has that been has it been nice having community at home during the COVID times?
Yeah, definitely. Uh, the time that I get to spend with Catherine, she's usually she works during the day, and then, well, I guess a lot of us are, but uh, she's out of the house until about 5:30. So I'm working my separate thing, she's working her separate thing, and then our afternoons, evenings, sometimes we hang out, sometimes we don't. But it's nice to have the option. So it's always someone to just bounce conversation off of, that you're not dating. And that is a very, I've realized now in my 43 years of age, that is a very important thing in life, is to have somebody that is very intimate and close to you,
Yeah.
that is not necessarily a romantic or sexual partner.
Yeah.
And yeah, you know 30 years ago I would have never dreamed that such a friendship was even possible.
Yeah, because also I just want to let the readers at home know that Virgil's roommate is like painfully hot. It does hurt to look at her. Um and so it's really beautiful that you have this wonderful platonic relationship with someone who even straight women are just constantly wet around. So sorry, I don't mean to sexualize her. Catherine, if you hear this, you're also really smart, and that's why I don't know. She's wonderful and an enigma
Mm.
in that no one should be that smart if they didn't have to be.
Such a good writer, and great outfits, like, just, oh, we're really setting the bar for this, like, body image podcast. I'm just
I
going to be
know.
constantly comparing myself to my roommate for the rest of this.
I do feel bad that I was like, you can't be hot and smart. Anyway, let's get into talking about how like our bodies aren't the most important things. I am gonna partially refill my drink while we're talking in just a second. I want to alert you if I roll off the screen while you're saying something interesting, it's because I trust you to carry
Right.
it. Wait, what was I about to ask you?
I came prepared with 3 beverages so that I would not need to refill at any time.
Absolutely. It's important. I only had two, and that was my error. um, what was I gonna ask you? Well, I don't want to dive in too cold. I want to make sure we've had our conversational foreplay, but I do want to ask, Virgil, just this is a vague question, but what is your relationship to your body? What's it been? Well, here's a good one. How was high school for you in terms of your relationship to your body?
Ooh, yeah. You started um on a good note for sure. Because high school was when things really started coming into not necessarily into perspective, but was when I first started feeling, I'm not quite whatever all y'all are doing. And uh, for the listeners at home, I have the fucking classic queer small town conservative Catholic upbringing, like, you know, redneck white people city. So my relationship with my body, with my gender, with my race, with every aspect of my identity has always been benchmarked against mostly like aggressive white cis men. And it is such like a stark and relieving difference now that I'm older and have had time to like process that, gained language, gained understanding. I mean, there I think something that you hear from a lot of like queer folks is that they didn't even have the language, and that's true for a lot of things like race issues, gender issues, everything, right? It's like just not even having the language, not even knowing that there's a language to speak, that everything around you is what's normal, and if you don't feel normal, it's because you're abnormal. And it was it was tough. Like high school was very tough. I mean, even like just scooting all the way back to like elementary school. Um, uh, I I definitely didn't like read like as effeminate, but I was always kind of like had like hostile relationships with a lot of the boys like around my age. I certainly had um male friends, usually like weirdos and outcasts like me have been like a very constant source in my life. But elementary school, my two like very best friends in like gosh, second grade maybe, were these two twins, just these gangly, awkward, chronic illness, like just goofy gals. And we played house like every day at recess. It was mortifying as an adult, but also very cute in the moment.
When you say you had two sickly female twin friends, I'm like, this is the cutest image in my head. Like, just you and two girls who look the same
Yep.
running around playing house. Do
Both
you
looking like they're about to fall over at any moment. Like, I mean, truly just
just
imagine the John Green novel like distilled down to a person, and that's, you know, two of them,
oh,
Um and I got picked on for that like
yeah.
a lot. But it was so fun. Like just having um more of a female like presence in my life, or now I call it femme presenting
Yeah.
presence in my life. I've always felt safer um around femme presenting people because of like just the constant like micro hostility that I've always experienced from male presenting or mask presenting people. And it's carried forward to this day. I have very few close male friends, which, now that I've had some like distance from a lot of like the childhood and kind of formative year traumas, uh, I think is a shame. It really is like uh I don't feel it as an absence in my life, but it is kind of like, what if I hadn't grown up in this toxic environment, right?
Yeah.
um yeah, we've come off like a fairly long tangent, but to like bring it back to just like body image issues specifically. um I was not like, a classic gangly dork nerd kid in high school. Um, in band, in theater. If we had had a Glee club, I probably would have been in it. We're too poor for Glee club. um, but uh, it really kind of struck me just as so odd. Like every day, I always felt something just very definitively wrong about my shape, because the people that I was the same shape as were just incredibly different from me in every way, in mannerisms and kind of uh, behaviors, with the way that they make their friendships with each other, the way that they make their friendships or relationships with women, because it was, it was all straight at my high school. Ain't no gays allowed.
Yeah.
No joke. A gay kid got run out of town. He and his family got dead ass. But viewers at home, I'm not exaggerating. He got bullied so hard. His family got threatened so hard that they moved out of my town. That's what that's what we're talking about here. Um, and it's really not an environment where one would feel comfortable presenting or exploring anything other than the gender binary.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, where were we?
No, I think that well, and I had asked what your relationship to your body was like in high school, but and you were like, "Oh, I feel like I've gotten off topic." And I think all of this is related back to the same I mean, like our bodies are a vessel in so many ways. Cuz even just for our listeners at home, like you they can't see that you're not just a white guy. So you're biracial, correct? And your mom's side is Filipino, is that?
Filipino, Chinese, and my dad's just he a white dude.
The white dude.
He
Well,
probably
and
Welsh or something.
that must play in too. It's like I don't really identify as male or female. I don't I'm ex- I as- I d- I can't speak to this for you, but like there must be some conflict between like am I white, am I Asian? Like there's just a lot going into your vessel is like culture hasn't given you a clear path. I think everything you're saying is so relevant. Well, and like I mean I said to you before, I was like, well, we want to talk to people from all these different perspectives because we read all these stats on like how body image and eating disorders affect everyone differently, and there were also stats on like how like Asian men in particular feel like they have to bulk up a lot, like just all like everything about us creates new and different pressures on how we interact with the world. So yeah, I think what you're saying, like I had to blend in for like all of these reasons is
Sure, yeah.
is super valid. What was the process like of like I'm sure we're all still doing self-acceptance. Self-acceptance is we're going to look back on today 10 years from now and be like, I hated myself. Why did I hate myself so much? But what does that look like in terms of like coming out, like maybe finding I mean, you have a very distinct look that I fucking love. Um what was it like kind of finding your personal style, finding what fit more for your body and mind?
Um, I'm being honest and not in any way like self-derogatory. I don't think I've found my personal style yet.
Yeah.
There's and I don't feel that I also have like a lot of room or really just the like energy and capital to like experiment with my presentation. I do in small ways, it's colors, I'll let my hair kind of do its thing. To kind of go on to another thing about like race. Like I used to like want my hair to be like very straight, and it's naturally like very wild, like island ass hair. Like
Yeah.
it's the fact that it's like pulled back right now is because I could not get it to behave, and I didn't want it to be kind of pointing this way and like this side kind of up like this. Um, it's it is a sentient being, and I live in its house. um, but the Yeah, there are, it's a lot of like uh intersecting issues with relationship with my racial identity, with my gender identity, with my body. Like, of course, we all know it's all very, very intertwined. um but sometimes I do like stop and think like, god damn, I really do got a whole lot of the processing, you know, points.
Yeah.
Like some people like are, I'll use the word just biracial or like just trans, right? And then
Yeah.
like then some folks it's like, yeah, I've got like, you know, a body thing and a race thing and a gender thing and
Yeah.
illness, you know, like there's just so many like levels that you can get things. And my onion's a little thick.
Yeah.
um, which makes it equally difficult to cut through sometimes. um, and definitely, you know, no way in any shape or form done with
Yeah.
with either my exploration or my self-acceptance. And um, self-acceptance definitely is like a tough thing for me on, I mean, even the majority of days, just like something, you know. And I'm being kinder to myself. I'm, you know, trying to an exercise that I learned from Tumblr in like 2011 or something was like, um the next time you think or say something bad about yourself, say it out loud in a funny voice, and you will realize how ridiculous it sounds and how
Write
ridiculous of
it
an idea
down,
it is.
listeners. Write it down. Sorry to
And
interrupt. Great.
and I did that a lot in college and in my like just like shortly post college years. Um, uh, and I don't do it so much now anymore because I think I've kind of like grown enough that that isn't necessary. But it's always kind of like back of mind where if I look at myself in the mirror and I'm like, oh god, I hate my facial hair. I'm like, yeah, I hate my facial hair, you know. And I just give a little silent nod to myself and be like, yeah, you know, we're just gonna deal with it today. That's fine.
Well, and
What's
this
so
is
bad?
like, I don't know, this has kind of been like an ongoing this is you I feel like everybody has a different relationship to how we choose to shape our bodies to fit what's in our heads, right?
Mm.
And like obviously if like most trans women remove their face, if they have the financial means will laser their facial hair or whatever. Is that something you like, do you dislike having it, or is that some you hear my question, you get
Oh
what I'm
yeah. Yeah. Facial hair, you know. And I will preface this, this is my personal opinion about my own body, you know. There, it's a touchy issue even amongst like just non-binary folk, whether it's like let the hair rain, you know. It's like my personal relationship with my facial hair and like a lot of my body hair is that I hate it.
Yeah.
um and I've, you know, I'm dialing that back to just knowing that I feel uncomfortable with it, and you know that I have things that I can do about it should I so choose. But I don't have to, you know. There's a lot of like self gatekeeping things that I'm trying to like extract from my thought process, and just let it be a simple question: do I want facial hair? And
Yeah.
the answer to that every time is no.
Yeah.
And um and the just the irony of today's little podcast adventure is that I thought we were jumping on this call at 7:30,
Mm,
to get, you know, sound check, mic check,
yeah.
all that, right? Not realizing that it was actually 7:45. Little behind the stage stuff for the listeners. um, and I was in the bathroom frantically epilating. I have like a little like it's like a spring thing on a
Yeah.
roller. I don't know what it's called, but it might just be called an epilator. Yeah. But I was just like, oh, come on, get out of here. And uh and the thought crossed my mind multiple times of like, you are stressing out about this shortly before you were going to go on a podcast with thousands of listeners, um talking about body image and how you're trying to be more positive about it,
Yeah.
right? But that's part of my journey, right? It's days like today are part of it, and I forgive me for that. um I I'm sorry. um, I got trapped by an Instagram ad for a little like one of those at home light treatment. I don't know, they zap your shit or
Absolutely.
whatever. And
Yeah.
I bought one and I'm gonna try it out
Hell
and we'll
yeah.
see how it goes.
Dude, in Mindy Kaling's book, the second one, sorry, I have read both. She was talking about one of the things she did when she got money was buy a blue light thing that like zaps the bacteria out from your acne. And I was like, I
Mm.
have to get one, I have to get one. And then I spoke to someone in what's the like the beauty field, and she was like, those things don't work. There's no science behind that. I was just like, well, millionaire Mindy Kaling swears by them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if you're a trained technician. But I feel you. Well, we're all I'll try. I just tried Curology. Do not endorse. It's like the like it's basically you sign up for like a dermatologist on your phone and they send
Mm.
you prepackaged kits for your skincare.
I see.
And I do think I've heard this about like BetterHelp and stuff too. It's like you do hire a medical professional and then they're spread so thin because it's an
Mm-hmm.
app. So I was like, hey, this thing's making my acne worse. And he was like, that's normal. I was like, that doesn't feel normal. Anyway, I let it expire. Uh,
That model of just healthcare and self-care things of a medical professional with 50,000 clients
yep.
is so fitting for like our era of existence. Like, do I have a licensed orthodontist for my candida liners? Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Does she know or care that I exist? Absolutely not.
It's crazy that we have MDs in the gig economy.
Mm-hmm.
And that we're like, they'll lose money if we socialize. I'm like, I don't know. I think my Curology guy's gonna get paid more. I have to believe if he at least he would have health. I doubt Curology gives health insurance. Maybe they do. I don't fucking know.
You never know.
Someone in the chat said Curology burned my skin. I don't know if we're purely an anti-Curology pod. We just think everybody should have a reasonable number of clients. I think that's our stance.
I think from just like an ethical standpoint, I didn't have to pass the medical bar exam or whatever it's called, but I feel like there's something in there where you got to be like not negligent in your job or it seems like we're really skirting that line, and the only thing that hasn't caused it to collapse is like enough people haven't died or been horribly maimed yet.
Yeah. And I was like, hey, sorry, I saw a thread on BetterHelp. I think it was one of the digital therapy apps. And it was just like comedians talking about their experience. And one of them was like, I brought up my boyfriend every week and she never remembered his name.
Mm.
And it was like, oh, oh, my therapist would bring up people I had forgotten about. Doesn't that remind you of X and Y? I was like, fuck off. Yeah, it does. But
Who told you that?
oh, anyway.
Oh,
So nobody's accepted themselves
no.
in the end. Is the truth.
Maybe somebody has.
I bet some people have. I feel like I go in waves. Like last year I
Mm.
was like, I can't believe how mentally well I am. And now that we've sort of slowly started to socialize again, I've learned that I have very bad social anxiety, and that's why last year was great for me. Well, and Virgil, I feel like you and I have something in common. And the primary thing that bonds us is we don't feel like we have value unless we're busy. Did I just? Oh
Who
no!
told you that? Oh, yeah. Productivity equals value.
I don't know why I brought that up. I don't
Empty
care.
time, empty heart.
Well, and I don't know. It does feel like that's part of a self acceptance thing. It's like just being able to be like, I have value when I'm
Yeah.
What, like watching Love Island? What do people do? I don't know. I don't know. I no offense to people who watch Love Island. I love that for you.
Mhm.
I'm on a rewatch of Outlander, so I'm not judging
Ooh.
anyone at all.
All right.
What
Yeah. I'm
do you do?
yeah, quarantine definitely has forced me to like slow way the hell down in a lot of
Yeah.
ways. And I am begrudgingly enjoying it. Um I miss the grind in a lot of ways. I don't miss being awake at 3 in the morning every day, doing a thing of some kind. Um uh yeah, but part of the journey, all these journeys that we're taking with ourselves is just like anti-capitalist, abolitionist decoupling of productivity and self-worth and productivity and value. Like output does not mean shit. It shouldn't mean shit. It's just a thing we made up.
Yeah. Yeah. And that, but it can be confusing as a creative because you're like,
Because if
I
you're not doing it,
spend so much time on this. Or like, what is my identity if I'm not making?
mm,
Am I forgotten if I'm not making?
my heart, it hurts. It's
I don't know. I don't fucking know.
yeah. I think you find, different outlets or you don't. Some people just like kick back for the last like year and a half and frankly, just dope. It's dope as shit.
I know.
I've taken to video editing, which has been
Oh.
yeah, it's
Oh, so
been
you did find a new way to work. What are you editing?
um video game footage of all things. I have a great group of friends. That's a long story, but great group of online friends, none of which live in Texas. I've been to a
Yeah.
few of their weddings and things. Um,
Cute.
and yeah, we play online games together. Sometimes I record them and sometimes I edit them together. I've got a YouTube channel with like 10 subscribers or something. It's
Fuck
got
yeah.
some real dopey dumb videos on it. But mostly it's an exercise in a new skill and definitely a way to stay up until 4 in the morning creating something obsessively.
Do you want to plug it or is it private?
Oh god, no,
You don't
I
have
don't.
to.
I
I'm just
really
checking.
don't. Oh, I really don't. Um goodness. Um Yeah, no. I'm torn. The grinder in me wants to be like, yeah, plug all my shit, plug my Twitter, plug my Instagram. It's mostly my cat. But the for me, it's more at this moment a personal project.
Yeah. Oh, question. I'm bouncing around a lot.
Love
We're
it.
talking about how our brains work.
Hmm.
Virgil, have you been taking social media?
Have I been one?
Taking time off social media?
So much.
I've
I
noticed when I was like gathering promo for this that you haven't posted on like anything since February something. Mid
yeah,
Feb.
I think yeah.
How's that been?
Frankly, amazing. Um,
Yeah.
I I don't know. I had a kind of like I mean, I'll admit toxic avoidance of Instagram because I had this idea that it was like vapid or dumb and that like pictures of food aren't worth looking at. And then
Yeah.
I started taking them and I was like, oh no, this is actually a lot of fun. Fuck me from 2 years ago, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but like as far as Facebook concerns or is concerned, I if I never got on there again, I think I'd be perfectly okay. I
Yeah.
do get on there every now and then because some of my friends still, insist on using Messenger.
Yeah.
Um, I imagine I'll be back when it comes to like doing show promo again when if
Yeah.
the world returns to normal.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, Instagram, I'm on there every now and then just to do a little mindless scrolling, but I've like unfollowed most of the hot people in my life.
Oh, yeah.
Uh, uh, exception Katie Stone, and
Thank you.
uh, the it's been very nice. But before quarantine, um, I guess 2 years ago or so, I was in like a really low. state and just needed something to like obsess over to take my mind off of life and existing. And what I did is I fixed my Facebook algorithm. I unliked every single fucking page that I didn't even know I had liked by like
Yeah.
scrolling over an ad. I unfriended everyone I know from high school with the exception of maybe 2 people.
Yeah.
Um, I was just clearing people out like just whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. And like the next day, my feed was just like wholesome pictures of people's families,
Beautiful.
pets. I like, the occasional advertisement, but it was never from like derpy memes that I found in my grandfather's attic,
Yeah.
um, and that's been that was super nice in and of itself. But then kind of like the comedy game sort of turned my feed into a constant like promo
Yeah.
scrolling billboard. Um, and space from social media during this time has been incredibly valuable. I think I feel less tense. I feel, to bring it, back to the topic of today, I feel way less shitty about my body most days.
Yeah.
'Cause
Well, and I actually wanted to come back to what you said about unfollowing hot people because the chat responded very strongly that they had done the same thing. Well, and I mean, I don't think we want to shame hot
like
people.
it's a
Be
clap rock.
hot. Be hot if you want to.
Yeah.
But I think that's valuable. Yeah. Not looking at fewer hot people makes us, I think I do that too. It makes us less self-conscious.
Yeah. And people have, different they're in different places with their idea of like body positivity and stuff, and it's there's a lot of ways you can feel about it. For me personally, I was following a lot of like super fit climbers, like rock climbers and stuff, and
Yeah.
um just random like models, like um a lot of what's the word, big titty goth GF, basically just like that whole just
Yeah, like
imagine
an
that genre,
emo. Yeah.
because I love like goth aesthetic and like every kind, pastel goth,
Yeah.
floral goth, classic goth, Victorian 1200 goth, like
Yeah.
love it all.
Yeah.
But that following those tags means you end up with a lot of like super duper just unbelievably hot models
Yeah.
dressing the way that I wish that I dressed, and then all I would ever feel is an absence in myself.
Yeah.
And that sucked. And unfollowing a lot of that shit really cleared out my soul, I gotta say.
Good.
Was nice. I do follow, some of the hot climbers are still in there because
Yeah.
they're very, very talented.
Exactly. It makes sense to follow for talent rather
Mm-hmm.
than
Yeah.
attractiveness.
And yeah, and if you follow people because they're hot, I get it. Love
Yeah.
hot people.
Much support.
Mm-hmm.
I
She says with just a hint of agony.
I'm trying to think, this is like making me self-reflective.
Mm.
Well, okay.
Good. We're in it. We're in the vulnerable stage.
This is something I've been struggling with, and maybe I don't know, anyone in the chat can give me advice on it. I try to be very involved on TikTok, especially. I love to be following and liking things that teach me about identity politics
Mm.
as a mostly straight white woman. And recently, my feed has just become people talking shit about white women. I mean, valid. Like it's all people's experiences and stuff like that. But it is weird to try and relax by watching TikTok. And then every video, like 2 hours a day, I'm like, I'm bad. Did I do this? And then also it weirdly makes me like, I know that every other race has to think about race constantly, and I want to hold that and appreciate it and know that I need to, like, in a way it's like I need to do that too. But then it's like sometimes I'll like think about it in a way that's not productive. It's like, should you say that just friendly thing or is it racist? And it's like, well, that's not helpful. You shouldn't just be putting someone in the category of their like oh, can I say hey, how you do, like, you just start over analyzing everything in a way that almost comes full circle to problematic. Anyway, it's just weird to, I don't know, social media can be like, the more you like something, it's just the algorithms
Oh yeah, the
pigeonhole you.
dial right in.
And like hot people too. It's like,
Mm.
I don't know, it's just like whatever whatever you like immediately becomes an important part of who you are. And I don't know. I People in the chat are being like, you should make your social media more fun, which is very validating.
Mhm.
It just feels bad. It feels bad to be like, I'm gonna ignore that criticism of me. Feels Trumpian. It feels Trumpian. Anyway, I made this about me. We were talking about hot people.
Yeah, to make it about all of us, I do the same fucking thing a lot of the times, because like even as like a non-binary person, I'm very aware of like that I lean mask presenting if you want to,
Yeah.
buy into the social binary and stuff. There are spaces where I come off like as a cis white man, maybe one that's like Italian, maybe.
Yeah.
um, but so there's always like things where I'm like, yeah, I gotta learn some stuff and I gotta be cognizant of that. But then what you end up doing is you end up overanalyzing and gatekeeping yourself for
Yeah.
things nobody's even asking of you, right?
Yeah.
Like uh it must have been a tweet or something. It was like on a, you know, kind of like call in culture rather than like call out culture, like Twitter
Yeah.
feed or something that was said like uh you cannot constantly drink poison on the internet and expect to get better.
Yeah.
And I feel that like the algorithm
Yeah.
generates poison for you
Yeah.
when you're following a lot of like well-minded and probably very informative and probably very valid social media about social justice and you know uh, gender, racial, all these global issues. Um, the algorithm will find a way to make it poisonous,
Yeah.
um, and perhaps not even intentionally. I don't know. Maybe the Facebook algorithm is trying to kill us.
Yeah.
That's not my cup of area of expertise, but it makes you it. Like, no matter what side or sides of a issue you stand on, you're gonna hate something about yourself and hate something about another person or
Yeah.
another group of people or something. And I
Yeah.
think that shit, we need to leave that shit in the last decade
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
analyze how we got to that point. Because I don't follow none of that shit. It's important to me. It's something that I tried to learn through non-academic. I'm going to say that very strongly. Non-academic, community-based, like abolition-oriented sources of information. Because
Yeah.
it's about building community and about unity and not about just blatant hate.
Ah, well, and okay, an interview I heard once, like an NPR interview that I really like, there's a quote that sticks to me from it, was basically like, if you can't hate a gay person just because they're a dick in a way that has nothing to do with homophobia, because there are gay people who are assholes who that has nothing to do with, there are people of every identity who suck. And it has nothing to do with the identity. And it's like, if you feel like you can't hate someone just because they suck, you've got like you've come back around to problematic.
Yeah.
It's like, if you get too deep into like, did I, am I being the problem? Yeah, that guy stole money from me and called my mom ugly, but as a straight white woman,
Yeah.
will you accept it? It's like, anyway, but exactly saying,
I
it's like,
understand that I deserve death. Like, you know, and that's what it's come to. And I I shed tear. I cry for
hey,
society.
Virgil, I promise all of your flaws have nothing to do with your social identities.
Your flaws, though many.
Do I know what they are yet? No, we're not. We haven't gotten there. I can't
Ooh.
wait to know what your flaws are.
Hmm.
Aside from the ones I've already called out because they're the same as mine. What were we talking about? Bodies. Well,
Bodies.
we don't have to keep talking about bodies, but it is in theory the topic of the day.
Yeah, I think it's a nice filter through which the conversation kind of evolves.
Absolutely. We're unfollowing the hots,
Yeah.
not because they're bad people, just because that's not a good enough reason to validate someone. And also, I think you're on something in terms of like, if we're validating by following someone for being hot, then we associate our follows more with our being hot.
100%. Yeah. Or just like some kind of like social currency that exists as like a plus button of some form or fashion.
Absolutely.
And if anybody in the chat is talking about Black Mirror,
I don't think they brought up Black Mirror yet. I'm just checking if anybody
seeing
has.
like
Someone said to
season 2,
tell
episode
you.
1.
Someone said to tell you hot rice. I don't know what that means.
That's one
I'm
of my game
reading.
friends.
He's on your unknown YouTube channel.
That's right.
Hey, the person.
Yeah, my gaming group, some of us, we play a game called Overcooked 2, and it stars 4 chefs trying to cook stuff and getting each other's way. And one of our one of my friends in that group, uh, she tends to do a lot of the pot-based cooking, noodles, rice,
Hmm.
things like that, and will yell out "hot rice" whenever one is ready. A little fun background into my very personal life for the thousands of viewers.
Again, 200. Well, I think about this a lot. I used to really not like self indulgent media when other comedians would do things like, I don't know, like none of our guests are famous. We talk about whatever the fuck we want. Lane and I just get on here and we'll blab. I mean, we've spent like probably an hour of this podcast just talking about the Pete Davidson movie, King of Staten Island. Like, I used to think of that as so self-indulgent, and throughout the pandemic, this is actually the only creative thing I've continued doing. And I'm like, people will find us if they want. If we want to talk about we talk about what's happening in the chat every week, and people listen to this on in their cars. I don't know where they're going. I was gonna say on the way to work. Nobody's, but
It's a long commute,
yeah, yeah.
or they're
What?
breaking it up.
Yeah, I'm a break it up podcast listener.
Mm.
Um, You can tell I've listened to about 16 episodes of Las Culturistas this week because I keep referring to our listeners as readers, which is a. Do you have a. Should we have a nickname for our listeners? Probably not. There's not enough of them.
Happy fam.
The Hat Fam. Nope. I listened to a podcast, the Scam Goddess, which I actually recommend. It's really fun. She calls her readers the congregation.
Ooh,
Um,
that's mysterious
it is very fun.
and a little
Uh,
threatening, which I really appreciate in anything. Is just like a little threatening. Just a little.
Absolutely.
It's one of my favorite things about Katie Stone. A little threatening.
I might start an argument on the internet if I don't take my meds that day. You don't know.
You never know.
No. Do you feel like when you get busy, when you get stressed, that impacts your level of self-confidence holistically, visually, etc.?
Um, short answer, yes. Semi longer answer, I think it does in a sort of inadvertent way. In that when I'm very stressed, it's typically not about things related to like my internal situation.
Yeah.
It's always like external. It's a deadline coming up. It's a work thing, or you know, my pet is dying sometime within the next year. It's shit like that. Um, but what that does is it drains me of my mental energy, and then I don't have enough energy to fight the battle that's going on in here.
Yeah.
And that, you know, um, there are days when I come off of work at. Oh, did I lose you? Oh, there we are. My Zoom just decided to close. It was fine. Yeah, but there are days when I will come off at work at 6 or so when you know and the only thing that I want to do is go to sleep.
Yeah.
Because I'm just so drained, and then I'll get in bed and I'll be getting ready to take a nap, and then I open Instagram
Mm.
and the poison just flows into my eyeballs,
Mm.
and those are definitely the moments when I'm weakest against um, comparing myself to other people, to feeling bad about my physique. One of my friends or something is on like a new diet, or they're posting big old like, look at my arm progress, and I'm like, girl, my arms haven't progressed since the day I was born.
I can't imagine what makes someone lift stuff. Sorry to detract, but it's just like I get so bored. I'm very
Yeah.
easily bored. Go
Mhm.
on. I apologize.
I feel that so hard. That's why I need something that requires my constant attention. Like, because uh, for the readers at home, I'm a climber. I do indoor bouldering. Yes, I am Austin, and I'm sorry, but I will not let you take this from me. But it requires my constant attention, or I'm gonna fall off the fucking wall. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it's nice in that way. It's always like constantly engaging. But if you try and get me on like a treadmill, or we're just gonna go run or something, I'm gonna be like, might be the last day we speak.
No, I really want to. I would love to get into climbing. I have never really done that, but I think the fact that it's problem solving plus exercise, that ooh,
Oh yeah.
that sounds good. Yeah, exactly. I'm like, why does that make me just like a little bit like excited, you know?
The pudding's moving around.
I'm going to harden my pudding. Um we talked a lot on this podcast about how we're more into adding things than subtracting things when it comes to our bodies.
Mm,
It's like thinking about it in terms of I want to eat more vegetables rather than I want to eat less
garbage.
whatever you say to yourself. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I love the idea of like I want to add a puzzle to my workout rather than being like I have to take away. I mean, we don't have to take away anything, but I want to
Yeah.
add that fun part that makes me want to do it.
I really love that perspective, actually, adding rather than subtracting. I'm gonna file that one away in the old mental wellness bank.
We like to say one or two insightful things per hour and a half on this podcast. The other
Mhm.
one was if you insult yourself in your head, say it back to yourself in a silly voice, and then add things, don't subtract things. We'll see if we can't get one more.
We just might.
FYI, we usually go to around 9:20 your time. I didn't give you that update before we got on here, but wherever we feel that it ends, it ends. We have a wonderful tech, Preston. He's the sweetest. Also someone who goes home and works again. A busy man. A busy
Wow.
man. Um, what else do I
Shout
want
out
to
to
ask?
Preston in the tech booth.
Shout out.
Haven't said that in a year and a half.
What's it been like? I'm jumping subjects entirely. Virgil is a small business owner. He and several of our friends are Preston just said flashes lights, which is improv comedy speak for wrap it up.
Little in joke.
Very funny. um, but you've been a small business owner of a business, one of the most impacted by COVID. I mean, the New York Times wrote an extremely depressing piece on how performers are likely to be the most impacted by COVID. How has that impacted your mental health throughout this?
Um, I gotta. I I have never in my life more so wanted to climb to the top of a mountain and shout at the sky than when the lockdown orders started going around nationwide.
Yeah.
I wanted to believe that we were going to be out of this by like, you know, August. Oh,
Yeah,
what a fool.
yeah,
What a fool I was. We're not even going to be out of it by this August.
yeah.
And um cooler heads prevailed during those kind of like reality checks.
Mm.
I think my cat just tried to enter the room. It's fine. Uh but man, you know, listeners at home, if you haven't been to Fallout Theater, when you go there in 2022 or whenever the fuck we open again, it is just a bomb ass little space. It's a little spooky, you know, it's in a basement of a Masonic building in downtown Austin. It's got this dope like 70s rock mag neon light,
Oh my god. I think all the
vaguely
time
threatening vibe.
y'all have our friend Carlos Serrata, who is one of my
Mm.
personal heroes, just one of the most creative for no reason. I would say a lot. Carlos will just come up with a project and do it, and I feel like Carlos did not have to make Fallout look as cool as it fucking does, because I used to perform there constantly and it looked like shit, and then Carlos came in and made it look so fucking cool. Don't tell Carlos. I am going to ask him. I'll probably have a wedding in the next couple of years. I want Carlos to do an installation at my wedding. That's how cool your theater fucking looks. Is that I'm going to try and coerce the person who designed it to design for me personally. Anyway, go on. I
That
just wanted to
is
talk about the aesthetic for 1 second because I'm obsessed with it. Go ahead.
that is an incredible compliment that I'm going to accept on Carlos's behalf
Yeah.
and then withhold from him unless he's watching this episode right now. Carlos, if you're in the chat, give us a
I think he is a child, and that makes you not a Twitch watcher.
yeah.
Two of them. Not to be older child erasure.
All right.
Um okay, sorry, but you were talking about how you felt. Everybody go to Fallout when they reopen, but
Yeah.
how are you feeling now?
Oh man, it's just it's such a like a bomb ass little space, and we were just skyrocketing. We were on our way to the moon. Um, one of my business partners and friends, Aaron, who runs the theater with me, kind of said it like in a meeting once, just sort of like leaned back and was like, "Man, this place was just taking off, and then we were finally." We were finally like getting like sustainable, like, you know, things like profitable. We were about to take off, and then the world just closed the doors on us, spit on our face a little bit, not in the good way, you know. It was definitely with malice, and it just sucked. It sucked so hard. I felt so fucking hopeless, like, um, but fortunately that early success gave us a little bit of like some breathing room, just a little bit, because we were like, you know, really aggressively trying to like grow our program, but also like dealing with the reality that we're a new business in our first 2 years, and it's like we gotta save money. So we were just like, okay, and now we're going down the slow water slide to death. um, Not dead yet. Uh, Probably won't die. Probably, and
Well, and I think that we should give you brief props because almost every other comedy venue in Austin has closed down, including Cap City. They've announced they're reopening, but this is like a historic, one of the most important comedy clubs in the entire country. Planned to shut down forever, and Fallout has lived, which I think is speaks enormously to you guys's planning, business sensibility, dedication, maybe being psycho. We can't know.
yeah, if you've met Ariel, she's the psychoest of all of us. uh Serotonin fam at home, Ariel's the sweetest on earth. Just an actual fairy. It's
Yeah.
sickening, if I'm honest. But yeah, you know, we we want to, you know, be kind of celebrate our wins. You know, it's a thing I think people don't do a lot of and they really should, is celebrate your wins. You know, I think we positioned ourselves well during the time when we thought the world was just going to go on normally, you know, um, and made some decisions early on with like our financial situation and what we were investing in and stuff. Um, uh, that did put us in a good position at the start of COVID. But I gotta tell you, the rest of it has just been absolute dumb fucking luck. Like, uh,
Because you're renting the
the
space, right?
yeah,
Sorry. Go ahead. Yeah.
continuing to rent the space, and it's you know, it's a spooky Masonic basement, so it's got a weird price tag. I'll say, you know, real weird. um, and like the community has just been so gracious. We've had some solid opportunities to work with other organizations like Austin Sketchfest, and like being approached for workshops and stuff online, even
Yeah.
during these wild ass times, that have just like kept like kind of just like injecting a little more embalming fluid, you know, just a little more,
Yeah.
in the hopes that we're going to be able to revive this thing, you know. And we've got very big news coming. You know, I think it's probably very obvious, like what it could possibly be. Spoiler.
Maybe it would be like a number or like 6 digits with some slashes in between.
Oh yeah, we're getting real
Okay.
flashy.
I won't I won't explain to anyone stupid what I mean by
This is a
no, but that's
body image podcast, not an intelligence podcast.
oh my god. Sorry, I'm just thinking about in my mind it's like, well, maybe I'm just gonna briefly detour for a second. I'm like, well, maybe if you bring your vaccination card or something, you can do like something like that. And then I remembered that. Can I just tell just the funniest story from my week? Is I was talking to my dad on the phone. He's fully vaccinated, and he goes because he's old and diabetic, and he was like, "Yeah, I just I thought it was a card to tell you when to get your second dose. So yeah, I just got my second dose and I immediately threw it away." And he was like, I didn't think it would be important again. And I was just like, what? I guess he's not on Instagram. Yeah, probably because he doesn't want to see hot people. I was just like, what? They were oh boy, poor thing.
Yeah,
Poor thing.
that's wild.
That's not Virgil did not tell me anything about what's happening in Fallout. I don't know. I don't want to talk about immunity passports. But
Yeah, I'm not even sure if that shit's legal.
I know. I don't think it's legal. I don't
So
fucking know. But it's
yeah,
exciting that you have exciting news
yeah,
because it's an important. It's community spaces are so important. We probably should have had
seriously.
you on just to talk about. We probably should have had all of you on just to talk about how important community spaces are. Um,
Tell you what, I'll just be the third member of this podcast.
hey, Virgil, we'll always. I'll try to add you as the third member to every podcast I've ever had. Or
Lane might have some feedback.
uh um Lane's out for a couple weeks and Devin's gonna co-host next week so long as he responds to my texts. And I was
Ooh.
like, oh, we should have done it. We should have done it, the three of us. I always
Oh,
Virgil, I always try to
what
have
a great
Virgil on my
podcast that would have
podcast.
been.
Um anyway,
Anyway,
where were we? But that's I don't know. You guys are really brave to have done what you've done in terms of keeping it open. I'm sure it's been a heavy piece. But I'm glad you have good news while other parts of your life are spiraling.
yeah, and uh, another exercise in self acceptance is like the five of us, the five owners of Fallout, have been just like constantly like nerve racked of
Yeah.
just like, you know, if we even mention that we're gonna try and reopen, are people gonna like whip us through the streets and stuff, or like they're gonna be like,
Yeah.
this is the grandma that you killed, that you personally, you know. And it's been very valid, honestly, because it is still ridiculous times. And Texas is like, I don't know, a couple weeks ago we were 49th state in rollout per capita or something, which
Yeah.
is just disgusting and awful. And I hope Governor Abbott falls off a high place maybe.
Absolutely, yeah.
Socialist podcast, right? And
I was about to say, like, sorry, go ahead.
oh yeah, go. Don't want to get taken down. But that every time that we would feel just this horrible like guilt and anxiety about wanting to keep this place open, somebody that we're talking to about it would be like, "Are you fucking kidding me? This is incredible news. Everyone's gonna love this." And I don't know if everyone's gonna love it, but like it's something that I'm really trying to like internalize, is that people want us to survive and they want us, to come back in a responsible way.
Yeah.
Um, and
Well, yeah.
it's yeah.
And just talk we were Virgil and I were joking before, because we did have a bit of a troll last week, because we do trend a little left. We trend a little left on this podcast, and by little I mean often a lot. But yeah, I think there are enough like angry socialists in your ownership that I would really trust you guys to have thought about it and maybe had some internal arguments before you reopen. And that's, I don't know, a switch flipped in me at some point where I'm like, I'm excited for us to start making pragmatic plan. Like for a while it was like, don't even talk about it, and now I'm just really excited. I mean, seeing outdoor stuff now is exciting, because also in Texas you don't have to be outdoors. So I'm like, I'm so proud of you for being out. Like, you could open today, and the fact that you've chosen not to speaks to you. And the fact that they said you could open today was specifically designed to make it so small businesses could stop receiving benefits from the state. And that is very frustrating.
Yeah.
What else was I gonna say? There was something about how you should feel proud and how I'm excited for you, but
Thank you. Is yeah.
but
It's yeah, wild times. But yeah, I am not able to share a whole lot of
yeah,
details
don't.
for a myriad of reasons, but
No
we're
secret.
coming about this and if any of y'all at home are stressed about the idea of a business opening, you are not more stressed than me. You simply are not. I will say that flat out, cards on the table, all in. Try me. I am losing sleep over this for the last year.
Things have to, but it is true that in 2021 at some point it's like, whether it's because the government is like putting their like fucking entire weight on your throat to reopen, or just because it is getting safer. It's getting safer every day. I read this morning, just a piece of good news, that right now the rate of COVID, um what's the word, like contraction, like people getting
Yeah.
COVID who have had the vaccine, is 0%. Which is really impressive.
Damn.
I mean, I don't know if that's always been the case, but currently that is the situation according to Fauci, who
Yeah.
I think we've all glorified over the past.
a little bit. That's been a weird personal journey for me as well, because like it's one of those situations where like he's the Biden of healthcare. Well, maybe not the Biden of healthcare. He's like the Bill Clinton. No, not even the
like
Bill
a like a
Yeah.
centrist we've been forced to love.
Yeah, a centrist and even probably right leaning that
Yeah, but
I've learned to just embrace and love and trust with many aspects of my life.
absolutely. Well, it's just like the closest thing to a sane voice we've had on television.
Oh,
Do you
goodness
remember
me.
when Brad Pitt won an Emmy for playing Fauci one time on an SNL sketch? And it wasn't even funny. Anyway, I was about to say, I'm a fan of SNL. I think people should watch it, but that was really bad. What else about the topic? And we're wrapping up. We're
Sure.
starting. We're starting. Any questions? Any Listen, I am learning that I'm not good at doing this alone, and I'm gonna get better. I'm gonna get
I
better.
think you've been doing a great job.
Thank you.
That is something I feel from the depths of my heart. This has been very fun, and I've I haven't had like this social connection with like anyone other than my roommate or
Yeah.
my partner like in a long time. So it's very very much appreciated, and I hope the people at home are getting some joy out of it. If any of you came here for like a very serious philosophical discussion about body image and queer issues, well, you got a little
Sorry.
bit. Sorry.
Did I deprive you of anything you were hoping to talk about?
Not at all. You know, I th- can you tell I have an attention disorder? um
No, it's good. Well, just to give some I think that sometimes it's also like you don't want to be like, but no, talk about being queer. Talk about being Asian. Talk about all these things. And then at the end of Javi's episode, he was like, I really thought you were going to ask me more about being gay. I was like, well, I don't know. I didn't want to be like, so you're gay, right? Like, what's it like to be fucking? No, I know that you're allowed to ask, but sometimes it's just like, you follow the conversation wherever, and then someone's like, oh no, you could have asked me more about.
yeah, you totally yeah. Yeah, I feel you. Um, but I could go on about this topic at length for hours, and a lot of that will be because I am not at all known for my brevity, either in speech or in writing. Everything I do needs like a third edit, but um, it, yeah, today's just been like a lot of fun. The only thing I'd want to leave my listeners with is that it's okay to unfollow hot queer people too. I just want to say that flat out.
Ah, yes.
I've done it. Because like some of them, they're too hot and they set weird standards. Any of my little like non-binary like trans eggs in the chat right now, uh, do not look at somebody's Instagram and be like, I want to be that, and then tie your happiness to it, because that's you, like, you can't keep drinking poison and expect to feel better. There's ways to like aspire to things on your own journey, but I want you to know that it's like okay that you're not that, and that you may never be that. And I'm not that. I'm not like the super hot androge plaid queer with the cool haircut with a line in it, like that
You have
I
some good
sometimes
suits.
wish
That
that I
is.
did.
Yeah.
Oh, I did not fit that suit very well during that show, but I am trying to be okay with that
Oh,
fact.
it looked great
Yeah,
to me. But
yeah.
not to say, I mean, we all anytime that it's like you look at someone who I assume is one of your friends because I haven't seen them in the chat before, said love the hot queer community by unfollowing them, which I thought was really funny. But yeah, our takeaway today is just like people or unfollow people for the way they interact with you,
That's right.
regardless of who they
Live,
are.
laugh, unfollow.
Yeah.
That's our third insight for the day.
All caps follow up from the person whose quote I just read. FYI, I'm also queer. I assumed that when I read it.
That might be Peter. If this is Peter, hello.
Anyway, very funny. Well, thank you. And Virgil, just know you're welcome on this podcast at any time.
Thanks. I'll see you next
I
week.
mean, the first email I sent you about today was so chaotic. I was just like, wherever your heart and brain is at when we record, we'll do that. And then I was like, that's a lot to unload on Virgil.
And I'm pretty sure I responded with, yeah, okay, cool.
Absolutely. No, that's correct. That is the correct response. Um, Anyway, well, I really appreciate your being here. I appreciate our tech Preston for being here every week. He is a saint. Listen to all the podcasts on ColdTowne Radio. These episodes release. I'm realizing I've never said this on the podcast. They release Friday mornings or sometime during the day Friday because Preston is honestly doing us a favor by posting them. And so we record Wednesday nights, we post them on Friday mornings. Tell your friends who just listen, that's when they can actually access them. Support ColdTowne Theater, support Fallout Theater, which has big news coming, and support Virgil Shelby. They are um beautiful inside and out. And I say that to objectify them. That's just like bodies don't matter, but Virgil is hot. So thank you so much for listening, and have a good night.
Thank you so much for
Hey.
having me. Night, everybody.